The sun had not yet broken over the jagged peaks of British Columbia's Coquihalla Highway when Jamie Davis stepped into the frosted yard of his heavy rescue base in Hope. The sharp sting of cold sliced through his jacket, but it wasn't the wind that chilled him. It was the storm he knew was coming. Weather reports had been lighting up his phone since 4 a.m., all issuing the same warning. A powerful Pacific system was sweeping inland, dragging moisture and temperature into a brutal collision that would make the mountain pass a death trap by dawn. Jamie took a long breath, scanning the yard. The trucks loomed like steel titans in the half-dark, his prized rotator, the classic blue wrecker, the hulking tandem-axle flatbeds. All quiet now, but not for long. He glanced at his watch. It was already 5:30. The cock never slept, and neither did the calls. As if on cue, the radio crackled to life. "Jamie, dispatch here. We've got a semi-jackknifed northbound at Box Canyon. Reports say it's blocking both lanes, fully loaded trailer. Driver's okay. Tow requested ASAP." He didn't answer immediately. His mind was already shifting through the logistics. That stretch was steep, exposed, and a magnet for chaos in early snow. A jackknife truck could mean traffic backups, second crashes, and lives in danger. He keyed the radio. "Copy that. I'm heading out. Get Kevin and Adam moving too. Let's roll." Within minutes, the yard roared with diesel life. Jamie climbed into his truck, the cab warming slowly as the defroster groaned against the ice on the windshield. Through the rearview mirror, he saw Kevin Ritchie pulling in behind him in the rotator. The massive red and black beast that was the crown jewel of their fleet. Adam Gazzola followed, still nursing a coffee and rubbing sleep from his eyes, but alert. They all knew what was at stake today. In weather like this, recovery wasn't just about broken metal. It was about keeping people alive. The drive up was slow and tense. Snow flurried around the trucks like confetti in a snow globe, reducing visibility to a few feet. Chains clanked against the frozen asphalt as they climbed the steep grade toward Box Canyon. Jamie kept his eyes sharp on the road. Every curve could hold disaster. Every shadow might be twisted steel or worse. As they crested a ridge, the scene came into view, and it was worse than expected. The semi-truck had lost control on a curve, jackknifing across both lanes. The trailer had folded in on itself, its cargo, industrial pipe, shifted dangerously. Fuel from the ruptured tank glistened in a spreading black pool beneath the trailer, mixing with the snow like oil paint on a white canvas. "Jesus?" Adam muttered as they pulled up. "We're lucky it didn't explode." "Yeah," Jamie said grimly, stepping out into the wind. "Let's make sure it doesn't get any worse." The driver, a young man from Alberta, was shaking as he spoke with the RCMP. "I hit black ice," he kept repeating. "I tried to correct, but she went sideways. Fast." Jamie nodded to the officer, then turned to Kevin. "We need to get the trailer stabilized first. Fuel's leaking. We'll need the hazmat crew too. You think you can hook from the downhill side?" Kevin studied the wreck, lips tight. "Maybe, but we'll need both winches. If it shifts wrong, that trailer's going over the edge." Adam was already laying cones and speaking to the ministry crew about traffic control. In this kind of operation, every second mattered. More traffic was backing up behind them, engines idling in frustration as the snow thickened. Hours passed like minutes. Kevin ran the rotator with surgical precision, slowly lifting the twisted trailer inch by inch. Jamie stood just feet away, guiding the lift and calling in status updates. Every movement was tense, every sound amplified by the silence of falling snow and strained metal. Then came the sudden jolt. One of the chains snapped under pressure, whipping back and slamming into the side of Kevin's truck with a deafening crack. For a heartbeat, everyone froze. Then Jamie shouted, "Back it off, regroup. No injuries." Kevin raised a hand. "I'm good. Chain's gone." Jamie exhaled. "Okay, we're doing this again. Slower, safer." They resecured the load, reinforced the anchor points, and this time the rotator held. Bit by bit, they lifted and straightened the trailer until it could be pulled to the shoulder. The hazmat team had arrived and was already laying down pads and neutralizer on the fuel spill. As the road finally reopened to cautious traffic, Jamie leaned against the truck, wiping sweat from his brow despite the cold. "One down," he muttered. "Probably 10 more to go." What's next? I'll continue with part 2. A tandem truck teeters on an icy embankment, and Colin McLean is called in for a dangerous solo recovery. ChatGPT said, "Awesome. Let's keep going." Here's part 2 of the dramatized retelling of Highway Thru Hell, Season 1, Episode 8, Racing the Clock, continuing toward the 25,000-word long-form story. Part 2, The Edge of Control. Jamie barely had time to regroup before the next call came in. It was the kind of report that made his stomach twist. Tandem axle dump truck off-road near the Penasque summit. Drivers out. Vehicles unstable, leaning toward an embankment. Those words? Unstable embankment. They were red flags. It meant the wreck hadn't settled yet. It was still alive, still moving, still threatening to fall into the canyon with one bad gust or one bad move. He didn't need to go personally. He had a man for that. Colin McLean. If Jamie was the heart of the operation, Colin was the scalpel. Calm, methodical, exacting. He didn't throw his weight around like Adam or wrestle with machines like Kevin, but when it came to complex wrecks that required finesse over brute strength, Colin was the guy. Jamie keyed his radio. "Colin, you available?" Crackling static, then, "Yeah, I'm in Merritt. Just dropped off a tractor unit. What's up?" Jamie relayed the details. Colin was already turning around. An hour later, Colin arrived at the scene, miles of winding, snow-cloaked highway that gave way to a stark white drop-off, where the tandem had veered off. The dump truck sat at a dangerous tilt, its left side buried deep in a snowbank, and its right wheels nearly dangling over a frozen ravine. The driver had escaped through the passenger door, now standing nearby with a look of quiet shock. Colin took one look at the situation and knew this wasn't going to be easy. He walked the perimeter first, scoping terrain, traction points, angles of pull. No sudden movements, he muttered to himself, more to mark the gravity of the job than for anyone else's benefit. The truck had shifted slightly in the wind just as he approached. Any jolt to the frame, hell, even a misaligned hook could send it toppling. He parked his recovery unit uphill and began unrolling the winch line, spooling it carefully around a nearby tree as an anchor backup. The snow made footing uncertain. Everything about this job screamed caution. One slip could lead to a runaway recovery, and if the truck went over, there was no pulling it back. "Colin's status?" Jamie's voice broke through the radio, always calm, but with that undercurrent of urgency. They all knew how fast the weather could turn. "Working it now," Colin replied. "Winch setup's tight. Gonna cradle the frame and start a gentle pull to rotate the nose uphill. I'm flying solo for now, but I've got control." Jamie trusted Colin completely. Some of the younger operators would rush in, try to muscle the truck straight out, but Colin worked with patience. He nested chains around the rear axle, dug out snow beneath the tires to relieve pressure, and angled his pull so the truck's own weight would help it pivot uphill. The process was excruciatingly slow. Each inch gained felt like a mile. Twice, the dump truck shifted violently, digging deeper into the snow on the downhill side. Colin didn't flinch. He simply adjusted the tension, paused, and waited. Heavy recovery wasn't a race. It was a war of inches. Finally, after nearly 2 hours of effort, the truck's rear axle crept onto stable ground. With a final coordinated winch pull, the vehicle eased back onto the shoulder with a groaning protest of steel and snow. The driver, still stunned, clapped Colin on the back. "Thought I was going to have to walk home," Colin smirked. "Nah, we don't leave him behind." He called it in. Truck's recovered, heading back. As he rolled away, snow began to fall harder, thickening into flurries that obscured the horizon. This was only the beginning. The storm had found its voice.